We all know that if you want to be good at something and to get better, you need to stick with it and be consistent. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 4 tips to help you to be a more consistent runner right after this. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on Keep Running with BK. And I've always prided myself on being a consistent runner since I started running back in 1983. And that looks differently over the years. I mean, consistently can mean pounding it out every single day of the week, or it could be consistently sticking with an activity and doing it with some sort of regularity, be it 3 days a week, 4 days a week, what have you. But it varies from person to person. But the key is consistency. And we all know what it's like when we're not consistent. Inconsistency kills goals, it kills motivation, it kills momentum, it kills fitness. Inconsistency is bad, and we feel bad when we are not being consistent, because we all know deep down that consistency is a critical key to getting good at anything, including running. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 tips to help you to be a consistent runner. And the first one is you've got to have a consistent routine. As I kind of mentioned, that's going to vary from person to person based on your availability. Consistency for me 20 years ago is very different from consistency for me today. So if you're starting from, say, 0 to just getting started, then maybe the best place to start is just getting out the door 3 times a week and exercising for half an hour. For some of us, we may have been doing this for a lot longer. We may have more time on our hands, or we're at a better fitness level and we can do more. So maybe 4, 5, 6 days a week. Some people even go 7 days a week, where they have built into their schedule time to go run. I know for me personally, for years, I did 3 times a week as a general practice. And then if I had a race, especially when I got into racing and training for marathons, I would have a 4 to 5 day a week routine for a number of months leading up to the actual race day to get prepared. When I was doing that, I was also pretty much starting a family. I had young kids. I had a career that I was trying to get off the ground. And I had other activities outside of that. And so I had a limited amount of time to put into running. And so what it usually looked like, 4 to 5 days, was about all I could really squeeze in. Now that I'm an empty nester, now that my career is in a different place, and that I work from home 100% of the time, I'm not commuting back and forth between home and work every day, I've got a little bit more time and a little bit more flexibility, where I've been able to, over the past year and a half, work my way up to consistently running 6 days a week. Now my schedule, as is right now, allows for me essentially to basically carve out 1 hour a day, Monday through Friday, and then 2 to 3 hours on a Saturday, generally speaking, for a longer run. And that's what I have to work within. For some people, they have more time, or maybe they have less time. So be kind to yourself. Realize that you may have certain limitations based on life's priorities, your schedule, and the season of life you're in, and that's okay. But work within what you have and establish a consistent routine that you can get out there and exercise and run and be well on your way to achieving your running goals. I would even go so far as, before you start thinking about a race goal or a distance goal or how fast you're going to run, I would prioritize establishing that routine. If you're just getting started, it's not about coming and starting up running and heading out the door and all of a sudden being really, really fast and being able to keep up with other people. It really is about establishing that routine. Even when I take a break, like this past November and December, when I kind of relaxed my training a little bit and kind of got out of my routine, when I came back here in January, my focus more than anything else was to get back into the habit and getting into a sustainable schedule and routine that I know I can keep up for the long haul. And once I get that, then I can start layering on top of that some additional goals towards being a better, more complete runner. Hey runners, mark your calendars for Saturday, March 26th for the first Keep Running with BK virtual running event of the year. The channel will be facilitating a virtual 5K prediction run. This is a fun event for runners of all ability and fitness levels. It doesn't matter how fast you are, it is about how close you come to predicting your finishing time. So starting March 1st, all you have to do to enter this free event is to email me your name and prediction time to bkskeeprunning@gmail.com. How you determine your prediction is totally up to you. This is an opportunity for all of us as part of a virtual running community. Feel free to tell your friends. And then after you run on Saturday, March 26th, email me again with your finishing time and tell me a little bit about your experience. I will share the results of the top predictors in a video shortly after the event. I might even share some of your experiences on the channel, with your permission, of course. Again, this is a totally free event. There are no prizes this time around, just a fun opportunity for friends, supporters, and subscribers to the channel from all around the world to run together and have fun sharing the results. And just so you know, I will not be sharing your email information with anyone. I'm simply using email since not all of us are on the same virtual platforms, but all of us probably have an email. Race day is Saturday, March 26, 2022. I hope you'll participate. If you're new here to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss out on any information regarding other virtual events planned for later this year, and check back for a new video each week. Until then, stay safe, train smart, and keep running. All right, the second tip that I believe is helpful to being a consistent runner is consistently working off a training plan. You should take the time, sit down, and kind of plan out what it is that you want to accomplish as a runner. Oftentimes we start with some sort of race that we want to run, or some sort of distance, or maybe you're not as serious a runner, but you have some other goal that you want to achieve. Sitting down and coming up with a high-level plan of how you're going to get from where you are today to how you're going to get there, and what are the steps to get there, so you can then plan specific running so you can incrementally and progressively work your way towards your goals. I shared a little bit about this in my last video when I talked about periodization, a high-level breakdown of your training year into smaller training cycles with specific goals that build upon each other towards your goals. So I'll put a link to that up in the corner. I'd encourage you to check that out for some additional ideas around how to plan out your training towards your specific training goals. But consistently working off a training plan often reminds us, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? Two, it should have been thought out so that I have incremental steps to get from point A to point B to accomplish those goals, and it reminds me what I'm doing and why I'm doing it each and every day. We want to get away from just going out and randomly running. On occasion, that's okay. On occasion, we want to maybe just leave the watch at home, leave the heart rate monitor off. We just want to go and have fun and run or what have you, and that's okay from time to time. But generally speaking, we want to have a training plan that we're working off of so that we know that we are systematically working towards our goals. That also helps us to be disciplined, to be consistent in our training. The third tip is think about and build into your running consistent behaviors. What do I mean by that? A couple of behaviors that I've adopted for myself over the past couple of years is once a month, I want to make sure that one of my long runs is at least a half marathon in length. Now, there are times during my running, or there are times during my training year where that may be a average or maybe even a shorter long run. If I'm training for a marathon or if I'm training for an ultra marathon, I'm probably running more than a half marathon for my long run on the weekend. But there are other times in the year where I really pull back a little bit, or I lighten the volume to give my body a break, but I want to make sure that I don't lose touch with that long run. So I give it myself a goal every month to run at least one half marathon as one of my training runs. That kind of also then leads into another consistent behavior of I set kind of average training volume per week goals for each month. That keeps me honest so that I'm consistently running and I'm consistently keeping my eye on, one, the routine that I've established, two, the goal that I'm trying to achieve according to my training plan. And by consistently planning out those training volumes, it gives me a target to stay focused on and reaching for each and every week. I think another really good behavior that I would recommend for everybody is to always have a long run planned in your week. The long run is probably the most important run that you're going to have all week. If you get in a crunch, if your schedule gets really, really busy and you have to drop some things, typically dropping one of your regular runs during the week is probably your best choice. If it happens to fall on a weekend for myself, I usually try to drop one of my training weeks or training runs during the week and moving my long run up a few days and somehow fitting it in, because that's what's helping me build my endurance strength, and that is where I'm getting the most return for the investment of my training towards my long distance running goals. The other consistent behavior that I have, there's been times in my life where I've done more of this than others. Certainly when I was younger, I was running a lot more races than I do now. It would not be unheard of to have at least one race scheduled for every month of the year when I was younger at a minimum. Now I might schedule 2 or 3 races a year. But having a consistent race on the schedule makes sure that I have some sort of thing that I'm looking forward to and that keeps me honest, keeps me accountable, and helps me to think about how to approach my running in a meaningful way so that I can be consistent because I have motivation of something that I'm striving for. If I don't have that, there are days it'll come up like, yeah, why am I even doing this? Why am I running? Just to be healthy sometimes isn't enough for me. Sometimes it's like, well, I mean, it's like if I skip a day or two, or if I take, a break, that I'm going to miss out on anything. Now, there's times in our lives where that's totally fine and totally appropriate. But if we want to be serious runners, if we have goals as runners that we're striving for, we need those types of goals that we dangle out there as the carrot at the end of the stick that we're striving for to keep us going and to keep us consistently running. So again, those are some ideas about consistent behaviors to adopt as runners. And the fourth tip that I'll offer you is some sort of feedback mechanism to help you to stay honest to what you're striving to do as a runner. And that can take on many forms. One which I have adopted for a very long time is I track all of my runs. I use a spreadsheet, which is an electronic fancy way of keeping a paper training log. For years, I have used online forums to engage with other runners and share how my running went. I remember very early on, I joined a Yahoo group back when those were really popular, called Let's Chat About Running. And I met a lot of great people in the running community over the years participating in that online forum. We used to share our weekly running. We used to share about how we were making progress towards our goals and comment on that, encourage one another. We'd even meet up at various races around the country and have just a great time hanging out together. Those were wonderful days, but it was positive reinforcement. When we were injured, it was an encouragement to help pick us up and help us not to lose heart, but to know that, hey, we're going to get back on our feet. We're going to be able to get back out there. But that constant encouragement, that constant thing. And then some of us were able to ask questions and get answers from other runners who might have struggled with some of the same things we're struggling with, being a nagging ache or pain or injury, or we're having some struggles with our running and not making the progress that we'd like. We could get feedback from one another. We even had some very seasoned runners that were on there that were really good sounding boards that were able to give us training advice and input into new things to think about as we approach our running. That's where I learned heart rate monitor training. That's where I learned the concept of endurance strength as a metric that I started tracking in my training log to really kind of help me to measure how I was progressing in my fitness development. Today, Strava is a really popular platform, social media platform for runners and other endurance athletes. And I've really enjoyed posting my runs out there, and have really enjoyed the camaraderie I've had with other runners. I don't have the luxury of being able to join a running group near me. That's another option. Joining a local running group or a local running club so that you have other people to meet up with during the week once or twice and get a run in during the week or a long run on the weekend, and do things like that. If you have access to that, that is a great way to socially interact with other runners. Friendly accountability, and to have someone to run with and that you know, reminded that you're doing this together. But platforms like Strava and social media can be another avenue for many of us to engage with other runners in a virtual community to get that kind of support. And if you are on Strava, I would really encourage you to check out Keep Running with BK in the virtual clubs set up in Strava, and I'll put a link to that down in the show notes. But I set up a virtual running club for those of you who support and follow and subscribe to the channel, and I'd really invite you to join us in that. Our numbers are growing, albeit slowly, but it's been really fun to see what everyone else is doing, and to comment on and follow other people's training. I'm having a lot of fun with that. It's another motivation to help me be consistent in my running. Again, I want to remind us that consistency is one of many keys to being a complete runner, to being a better runner. It takes consistent repetition and practice to get better at anything. And so I hope that you found a tip or two here to help you to be a more consistent runner. If you have other tips, feel free to post those down in the comments below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to have you join the Keep Running with BK community. I share a weekly video here each week talking about something that has to do with running so that we can continue to learn how to be better runners. We can get tips about how to improve our training and ultimately to help us to keep running. Until next time, stay safe, train smart, and keep running.